Hello, hello, my lovely people. Welcome to KateSemeniuk Hypnotherapy and my channel where I talk about really serious and important stuff, right? But in a very simplified way so that you can really understand how your mind works and how the trauma is formed, how we form the fears, right? Where they come from, and maybe you can start taking some actions or maybe just being curious about your mind. And when you become curious about your mind, there is no way back. When you start to be curious about your body and your mind and the connection between them, then there is no way back. You kind of go on a sprint, on a run, on a marathon to discover yourself and what is holding you back and where your issues are coming from, right? So today's topic is 5 things that your therapist doesn't tell you about. Let's go. So 5 things. And how did I come up with these 5 things? Is because I've experienced it with myself, but I thought it was just one case. I thought it would be just isolated case. Then I would hear that from my friends. Then I would hear that from my coworkers. And then I would hear it from my clients. When I became a hypnotherapist, right? I was really curious. I was fascinated to hear what they are experiencing in the talk therapy. So maybe I can inspire them, encourage them to listen to the therapist. And I do always, right? However, I was very curious to see what the therapist is telling them. When I first went to therapy, it was 2018, right? I was in Canada already, and I have been having some problems with panic attacks and sleep issues, right? So I decided to find the best therapist. I looked for reviews. I listened to my friends, like colleagues, referrals, right? So anything that could help me find a great person. And I did. And she was incredible. She was incredible at listening to me, right? She was a great listener, right? So I would come for 1 hour session. I would talk for 50 minutes. She would ask me great questions. And don't get me wrong, those questions were amazing, right? But and then she would tell me, okay, well, for the next time, I want you to think about this, and we'll talk about this and this. And I'll see you next time, right? So I would ask her in the first session, I was like, how long will it take me to uncover this issue, to kind of resolve it? She's like, well, I don't know. Well, it's probably years, like you'll come for me for 10 sessions and sometimes people have results, really good results. And then you'll come to me when your insurance coverage is going to be replaced again for the next year. And then you'll come for me for the next year. But, in a couple of years, I'm pretty sure you'll feel much better, And, panic attacks are very complicated. They are complex. Your mind is very complicated. And I was like, okay. And then I understood there was something else. Something that either they don't know or they don't tell me. And when I started to work with clients myself, I started to collect these things, these patterns, what therapists tell my clients, right? And I made the list of 5, and I hope you will resonate. It's not to discredit therapists at all. This is their job, right? They have their own training, right? Which is great. They are amazing coaches. But you need to know that in order to start questioning the time frame of your therapy. Why it's taken so long, why it's taken you years, right? And why you don't change. So first thing that the therapist might not tell you or doesn't know, right, is how your subconscious mind works. How your subconscious mind works. That it doesn't respond to time, that it's timeless. That's why you get triggered and you get your trauma triggers, right, from the past. That's why you can drive and still remember how to drive and walk, because your subconscious mind doesn't know time. It gives you everything here, there, so that you can function, right? And everything you learn as a skill, you can get it out from your mind really fast and use it. So your subconscious mind doesn't know time, right? That your subconscious mind understands everything is real, right? So this is really important. For example, in the fear of flying, right? If the person imagining the airplane crash, their mind goes into the panic attacks, because the mind doesn't understand if it's real or imaginary. So it goes into the same reaction as if you have actually experienced the airplane crash, right? So that's the things that every client of a therapy needs to know. Like I believe that every therapist has to first educate their client on how their mind works, and not saying it's complicated, I'm sure I'll use different approaches, No, first is educating them, giving them that basic, simple knowledge of how their mind works. Now, number 2. So the second thing that therapists might not tell you or might not know is that exposure to trigger doesn't resolve the root of the trigger. The exposure to trigger doesn't resolve the root of the trigger. So these are the supporters of the exposure therapy. While it works, I know it works, right? Exposure therapy works. However, when you are very in the subconscious mind, very anxious, you have panic attacks, and then the therapist is telling you, well, you have to move on. You have to forget whatever happened. It was in the past. You don't have to get hold of it, to hold on to that. Just move on. Keep going outside if you have social anxiety. Keep thinking about positive things, And the person understands that. The client really understands that, but they go home and they don't do that. Because exposure to trigger doesn't resolve the root of the trigger. It can subside the issue, but it doesn't resolve the root of the issue. And even if by exposing yourself, you can absolutely change it and even resolve that specific issue, if the root cause wasn't resolved, it will morph into another issue. So this is really important. Number 3. So that medication doesn't resolve the root cause of the problem. The medication can help you function, can numb the feelings, can help you function on the everyday basis, but it never resolves the problem. And a lot of clients are asking their therapist, will that help me? And the therapist says, yes, it will help you. Will that fix me? Well, no one gives you guarantees, right? And of course, therapists will not tell you that. They will probably tell you, well, no, probably no, but it will absolutely help you and you'll learn how to cope. Learn how to cope is great temporarily, but on a permanent basis, living your life coping and not thriving, I think it's not the best strategy, not the best advice that you can give, right? So this is what they might not know, or maybe they didn't learn it at school, right? Number 4, there is a term that I've investigated into, that did some research, that there is an addiction to therapy. And that happens when the client is coming to the therapist for years for one issue, like depression or anxiety or addiction, right? They become addicted to the therapist. They don't even want to change because they know that, oh, I'll go to another therapy session and I'll talk about that. They don't take actions. First, because the root cause wasn't resolved, but the second is that they become addicted to the therapy, right? They become kind of dependent on therapist. They ask for advice as trips. That therapist becomes their, friend and family member by that time, by many years, right? So it's not about the therapist. It's just how it works. It's just when you go to see the therapist years and years and years, you become addicted to it. You won't change your behavior because you know that you will always come there once again and you'll talk about your pain, emotional or physical, right? And you'll release it a little bit, but it won't resolve the issue, right? Because the only person that can resolve your issue is you. There is no other way. People can help you with different approaches, with different medication, drugs, treatment plans, yes. But if you don't put your efforts into your own healings, you cannot run a marathon. No one can run a marathon for you. Only you can do that. The same with your mind issues, right? With your physical or emotional pain. Only you can resolve it. There are people who can guide you, who can help you do that, right? But you have to do that. Number 5 is that that changing the beliefs take years of therapy, of talk therapy, right? So a lot of people will take years of therapy in order to shift one belief. Like, I'm worthy, I love myself, or I'm enough, I'm smart enough, I have enough, right? Any belief that you might have, it will take years, or maybe like multiple sessions, right? Tons and tons of sessions before you will shift that belief on your subconscious level, right? And usually that's why therapists that never give you any guarantees, and they cannot, of course, but they always tell you that we don't know, it can take years, or it can take 5 sessions, but they will never tell you that they will do everything possible to help you in 1 session. So this is the trick. No therapist will tell, I'll do my best to work with your subconscious mind and to help you resolve the issue in 1 or maybe 2, 3 sessions. No, they will talk to you for hours and hours before something shifts, right? Or you kind of understand that you have to take the actions, right? And it happens. For some people, therapy does magic. They start to take actions, they change their behaviors, they rethink their past, they do this inner work, which is amazing. But if it was that easy, if everyone would do that, then we wouldn't have those issues that we have today in this world, right? The anxious brains that we have, anxious people, anxious kids, panic attacks, right? And other disorders, eating disorders, depression, right? And all of that, we wouldn't have that. So these are the 5 things that your therapist might not tell you or might not know. So they won't tell you, right? But if you know them, then you will start to question your belief, and you will question and you will ask more questions to your therapist so they can give you some answers. So I wish you all the best. Be healthy physically and emotionally. If you need my help, if you want to experience the hypnosis that can uncover the pattern of your thought, the behavior, the programming that you had from your childhood, right? Or from your past. I'm here and my details are in the description. I love you all. Bye.